We all know that the Tekken Tag tournament games are not canon. It's just one big old fun fest where everyone is here whether they're dead or alive. Just pick two people and go and fight. However, my brain couldn't help but have a thought. What if the tag games were actually canon? Well, I'm going to answer that question in this video, at least just regarding the first game, because if I was to do the second one, I would be here forever. I'm going to take the first tag tournament game, establish a story, make some tournament rules, and explain canon pairings, motives, and endings. The Tekken Tag canon is going to remove the freedom of picking whichever pair you like, at least in the story mode. I've come up with 18 teams, and I'll explain why each of them have been paired together. Some of these pairings are actually pretty good and logical, whereas other ones were quite a reach, and I had to really think as to why these two people were paired together. But before we dive into the teams, what is going to be the overall story of the game? Well, the game is going to happen right after Tekken 3. Jin has just transformed into the Devil Jin version of himself and flies off. The dark energy from True Ogre and Devil Jin being in the same place awakens something unnerving from the spirit world. This is the Unknown. The Unknown is an evil wolf-like creature that needs a human vessel to control. The Unknown Wolf has found the body of a woman to control, an unnamed woman that will play a very important part of the story later on. The goal of the Unknown is very simple: to annihilate all of humanity. The creature and the woman that it controls makes its presence known in the temple, which just so happens to be where Heihachi still is. Heihachi sees these two threats to the earth and realizes it's going to take more than one combatant to stop them, thus starting the King of Iron Fist Tournament Tag Edition. That way, he could monetize the event, win the event, and then hopefully gain some sort of unbelievable power after defeating Unknown. I'm just going to mention here that what happens when you defeat this unknown creature will be a bit blurred, and it's never going to be clearly stated. But somewhere along the way, the idea of this one ultimate wish gets thrown around. I made that as a rule to help with certain endings. As well as this wish, there is obviously the tournament prize money too. So with that being said, saving the planet, gaining unheard power, a wish, and prize money. These are all the motives for the fighters. So, let's dive into the tournament pairs that I've come up with, why they are fighting, and what I think their ending would be. Alex and Roger. So before I get into the story, I just wanted to point out that when I was trying to get the footage for this game, I wanted to have the teams together, but some teams obviously share a character slot in the first tournament game, so couldn't put Alex and Roger together here for footage, so that's why. Anyway, Dr. B wants to fight in the tournament to try and take down the Unknown, but he knows he doesn't have the strength. So two of his powerful fighting creations that he's made, Alex the Dinosaur and Roger the Kangaroo, he's gonna enter them in instead. In their ending movie, you would see Roger and Alex heading back to Dr. Boskonovich's lab with the tournament prize money. Dr. Boskonovich looks absolutely pleased with the money as he now has the funds to work on his next endeavour, Project Elisa. And yes, I know I am 3 games early on the Elisa front, and she probably wasn't even a thought at this point, but this is my hypothetical, and I am going to do a lot of references to future things because I can. Anna Williams and Nina Williams. Amidst another episode of these two trying to kill each other, the tournament is announced, and the threat of the Unknown is explained. The sisters are drawn to the supernatural factor of Unknown and are intrigued in the kind of power that it has. They both reach the conclusion that if they defeat Unknown, they might be able to bring their father back from the dead, so they enter the tournament together. The Williams sisters' ending would show the aftermath of the fight with Unknown. They wait for something magical to happen, for some power to be granted, but nothing happens. Both sisters will let out a sigh of disappointment, and then return to fighting each other as the scene fades to black. Bruce and Gunryu. So this is the first pairing that came together due to process of elimination. However, they both served as bodyguards for Kazuya Mishima, so we're going to use that angle. And while it is not confirmed that they worked alongside each other, for the sake of the story, we're going to say that they did. So Bruce and Gunryu were out of a job after Kazuya's disappearance, but during their time serving under him, Bruce and Gunryu form a friendship. They would meet up to regularly spar, and during one of these fights, they would receive a tournament flyer. They both agree that they would be a dominating team in the tournament and decide to enter together. Now for their ending, I've taken the comedy route in true Tekken fashion, as we're going to need a few funny endings here. So after the unknown is defeated, it cuts to one of the chain girls. I genuinely don't know which one, so you can decide whether it's Julia or Michelle here. And she has love hearts for eyes as she looks in the direction of the boys. She runs over towards them, and Gunryu's ready, arms out, ready to embrace his one true love, but he is swiftly pushed to the side and she jumps into the arms of Bruce instead. This will then prompt the little close-up of Gunryu's face as it fades to black, and we get that signature Gunryu ending there. Armor King and King. I don't have a lot to say on the pairing here because, obviously it's these two. It's the classic mentor and student trope. It won't be the last time I use this, but for story context sake, let's just say Armor King and King are outside the orphanage, children are playing in the yard, and that's when the tournament flyer turns up. Very simple, very easy, nothing to it. The ending, I'm going a bit grim here, but the two luchadors return to the orphanage. Armor King gives all the prize money to King to put back into the orphanage, but he takes out enough money to buy himself a drink. He walks off into the night and he arrives at a bar. As he does, we see an abnormally large Vale-Tudo fighter sit at the bar next to him. Gee, I sure hope nothing tragic happens, as we fade to black. Brian Fury and Lei Wulong. We start the story off with Lei finally arresting Brian and driving him to the station. Over the radio though, Lei hears the news of Unknown's arrival and the Tekken Tag tournament. Lei, now thinking about the fate of the planet and humanity, gives Brian an offer. Help me fight in the tournament and I will not press charges against you. Brian agrees and the pair enter the tournament. The ending scene will show Lei letting Brian off the hook for helping him save the world. It will then cut back to Lei at the police station watching the TV where a news broadcast pops up of Brian committing more crimes, and ends with Lei grabbing all of his stuff off the table and running out of the station. Kazuya Mishima and Devil. Another very straightforward one here. Kazuya's devil form is taking over, but he enters the tournament himself and relies on his devil power as his partner. In the ending, after Unknown has been defeated, the devil form of Kazuya will transform into a hybrid with Unknown and the wolf to become an even bigger threat to the planet, and is that sort of classic Tekken ending that we've seen a few times where it's just like, okay, this is it, everyone dies, cool, humanity over. Eddie Gordo and Tiger Jackson. So this one is obvious as to why I've partnered them, because they're both capoeira fighters, but in terms of actually giving it a story purpose, it was so hard because there is just no info about Tiger at all. So I'm just going to go with Eddie putting out an ad looking for another capoeira fighter to join him in the tournament. The ad is then answered by Tiger Jackson and the two enter the tournament. That is literally the only thing I could come up with here. The ending that I have written for them as well is kind of lackluster as well. We'll see Eddie standing on the side of the street. He's used his share of the prize money to open up a capoeira dojo. Eddie will then turn around and look across the road from him, and Tiger Jackson will be standing out the front of a nightclub that he bought with his prize money, or his share of the prize money, and the scene will fade to black. It'll show the middle of the road and Eddie walking into the dojo and Tiger walking into the nightclub, and that's literally it. That is the only thing that I could think of doing for Eddie and Tiger, and I wish Christy was in this game just so I could have written something better. Jack and Gunjack. This is going to focus on Jane, the girl that's associated with the Jack robots. She learns of the threat that Unknown poses and decides to enter two machines to fight in the tournament for her, that being Jack and Gunjack. After winning the tournament, the Jacks and Jane can be seen walking through nature together, and this is going to be another lackluster ending. I hate the Jack characters so much. I've never liked them, so I don't really care to give them anything here. We're just getting them walking through nature, Jane in the middle, Gunjack on the side, Jack on the other side. That's all we're getting here. Hwarang and Baek Do-san. Another mentor-master pairing here sees the Taekwondo fighters from Korea team up. Baek will inform Hwarang of Unknown and the tournament after a training session, and he will ask Hwarang to be his partner in the tournament. After the tournament is finished, Hwarang and Baek have won. Jun and Jin will congratulate the pair. However, the desire for a fight grows too strong in Jin and Hwarang, and they will break out into a fight. The ending movie will finish with a shot zooming out as Jin and Hwarang fight, and Jun and Baek are shaking their heads in a very boys will be boys sort of tone. Julia and Michelle Chang. The adoptive mother and daughter will be teaming up in the tournament to stop the unknown, save the world, and use the money to start the restoration of the forests that are slowly disappearing. It's going to be another simple ending here, as the Changs are seen taking a helicopter to a remote part of the desert and planting the very first tree in their plan to revive the forest. Jun Kazama and Jin Kazama. Okay, here is where the canon is going to get a bit weird, but stay with me. I have a loophole and you are probably going to hate it. So, Jin has just defeated Ogre, and is now wandering out on his own after the devil has made itself known. He has this dark, looming feeling overcome him, as if some other supernatural force has arisen. And it has, in the form of Unknown. As he makes his way to the tournament, he is stopped by his mother. He cannot believe his eyes. He's seeing his mother after all these years, after thinking that she'd been dead for ages. Jun and Jin agree, however, there is no time for a sentimental reunion, as they need to save humanity from whatever this new threat is. Okay, the ending is where it's going to get a bit dumb, and I'm so sorry in advance. Jin defeats Unknown, and turns to celebrate with his mum, but she's not there. He can't see her anywhere. Xiao Yu approaches Jin and congratulates him on winning the tournament. She also mentions that she can't believe he won the tag tournament all by himself. That's because he wasn't actually fighting alongside Jun. He just had the spirit of his mother by his side during this tournament. I can't tell if that is a dumb ending or a genius way to implement Jun in this game. You can come up with your own opinion on that, and honestly, if you have a better idea on how to implement Jun canonically into Tekken Tag, please let me know below, because this was the best I could do. Kuma and Heihachi Mishima. This is another one of those mentor-master situations we have going on here. This intro will give us a look into how the threat of Unknown presents itself, and Heihachi being advised that this tournament needs to be fought in pairs, as something this strong has never actually presented itself. Heihachi agrees to this, but also says that he's going to fight alone, as he doesn't want anyone holding him back. He, however, is advised by... Honestly, I don't know who is advising him, but he is advised that he needs to find a partner. And Heihachi, stubborn as ever, says that no one will be on his level, so there's no point. As he says this, Kuma walks in, and Heihachi's face lights up. So Heihachi and Kuma enter the tournament as a team. Coming up with the ending for this one, I had two choices. I could lean into Heihachi and do a serious one, or I could lean into Kuma and do a silly one. With me being a goofy little guy, I decided we're going to lean into Kuma. So, as Unknown has been defeated, the two combatants are told that they can have this one almighty wish. Notice how I just said one. Anyway, Heihachi closes his eyes and starts to wish for total world domination under his control. However, Kuma has gotten in first, and when Heihachi's eyes open up, he and Kuma are both holding an insanely large tuna fish each. Heihachi's face drops, he hands the tuna over to Kuma, and he walks off disappointed. And that's the ending. Haha. Kunimitsu and Yoshimitsu. Kunimitsu approaches Yoshimitsu about partnering up in the tournament. She says that she wants to right the wrongs of her exile from the Manji clan, and asks if she helps save the planet with Yoshimitsu, can she be reinstated? Yoshimitsu agrees to this, and they enter the tournament together. The ending will show Kunimitsu running off with the prize money after winning, showing that she didn't actually change one bit and just wanted the money. However, I don't think Yoshimitsu cares, as the world has been saved. Lee and Prototype Jack. This is another random pairing, but I've made it work, and this is probably one of my favourite stories that I've written. So, Lee cannot find a partner for the tournament, so he approaches Dr. Boskonovich. He asks if he has anything for him to team up with in the tournament. Dr. B says the only thing that he has is a prototype version of Jack, and he wasn't even sure if it worked. Lee says he'll take it regardless, so now Prototype Jack and Lee are a pairing in the tournament. The ending video will see Lee celebrating with P-Jack before Lee shuts him down. We then cut to a factory where we see P-Jack being taken apart 4 parts. Lee's standing there watching over, holding a file that says Combot. I think this is a good way to kill off the P-Jack character and to give Combot more of an origin story, and it shows that P-Jack would still technically be around even after being taken apart, since Lee used him to build Combot. Paul Phoenix and Forrest Law. So yes, this will be Forrest, not Marshall, because Forrest is the one in the original Tag game. The boys really couldn't care less about the threat of Unknown. They just want the tournament money, as Marshall's been swallowed by debt yet again and is really depressed, which is basically every single story involving the Laws. Anyway, we get a nice happy ending here. Paul and Forrest save the restaurant, and as a thank you, Marshall cooks them a meal. I couldn't end this without some sort of joke though, so let's just say something goes wrong with the meal and Paul and Forrest get really sick and both fight each other to get to the toilet to get rid of the meal first. Ogre and True Ogre. So I want this to work a little different to how Kazuya would work. So in Kazuya's playthrough with Devil, you can change in between Kazuya and Devil whenever you want. However, I'm going to make Ogre and True Ogre like Tekken 3. So you'll start the fight as Ogre, but if you lose all of Ogre's health, he will then transform into True Ogre. So you can't actually change freely. I just thought it would stay canon with what happens in Tekken 3. I also don't really have a story purpose here for Ogre being in. I'm just going to say that after Unknown and the Wolf and Heihachi leave the temple, Ogre wakes back up and stands up, and that's literally all we get. We will just get Ogre standing up for an intro story. In the ending, however, it's very simple. Ogre is just going to get something similar to Kazuya. He's going to morph with the Unknown Wolf and is going to become some absolute cretin creature that kind of looks like the World of Chaos from Kingdom Hearts. Wang Jinrei and Mokujin. Here is the final random pairing of the video, but I really like what I've done with it. So, Wang gets word of the tournament, and he approaches his granddaughter Xiao Yu to be his partner, but her and Panda have already entered. Wang realizes that he mightn't be able to enter now because he doesn't have anyone to enter with. He decides to take a walk through the forest to go to the shrine that he has set up for his good friend Jinpachi Mishima. However, during this walk, he runs into Mokujin, the fighting dummy that is alive. Wang cannot believe his eyes when he sees this thing, but he also senses that the training dummy is of pure heart and has good intentions, so decides to enter the tag tournament with Mokujin. In the ending movie, as soon as Unknown is beaten, Mokujin will become lifeless again, as there's no more threat to humanity, so Mokujin doesn't need to be conscious. Wang will then pick him up and take him back to his house. He will hang him up on a stand, and he will keep his good friend in his house with him. I don't know if that's creepy or not, but I thought it was nice. Ling Xiaoyu and Panda. This is the final pairing of the game, and as mentioned in the last team, Xiaoyu is teaming up with her pet and best friend Panda. They decide to enter the tournament to save Earth, get the prize money, and finally build that theme park that Xiaoyu's been dreaming of so badly. And this is exactly what's going to happen. The duo beat Unknown, and we cut to them walking through the theme park and going on rides together. As an additional gag, I would like to see the park splattered in flyers that have no Kuma written on them, as he's banned from the park. I feel like that'd be a nice little joke to put in there, as nothing else is really happening in the ending except for a theme park montage. So we've been through all the teams now, and in true Tekken fashion, one of these endings has to be canon. So which one is it? Well, none of them, and I'll explain why. After you finish all of the stories, you will unlock Unknown. This is going to be a special playthrough of the game. Instead of 8 fights, you will have to verse all 18 teams. The ending of the game will see the wolf at full power, as with every fight it gets stronger and stronger. However, the wolf wasn't the only thing that was gaining power during all of those fights, as the woman whose body is being controlled by Unknown has been gaining strength over the course of the story. After the last fight, the woman will turn around and knock out the wolf with a devastating blow. It is going to be a big powerful blast, and it's going to vanquish Unknown into oblivion. The The woman is then going to lay on the ground, and all the purple goo is going to fade off of her body and return her to her normal human state. This will reveal that the unknown had chosen Jun Kazama to inhabit. This would confirm her still being alive in canon, but also create an even bigger mystery around her whereabouts in modern Tekken, and it would just add another layer onto her character as well. So I've gone with Jun just because I feel like it leaves more questions than answers. And I just feel like if you did this, when you do finally decide to reintroduce Jun into the mainline games, you have that sort of layer of character to play with. I'm going to wrap the video up here. I've had a ton of fun writing this one and coming up with all the pairings, figuring out why they're teaming up, what they're going to get at the end of the tournament. It's definitely been a great time reimagining one of my favourite games of all time. But I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments below, who was your favourite pairing that I came up with, or even tell me the sorts of teams that you would put together in a Tekken Tag game. Don't forget to like the video so I know that this kind of content is enjoyable, and also subscribing will go an absolute long way for me and is always very, very appreciated. I'm always forever grateful to those who take the time out of their busy lives to watch one of my silly little videos, and I'll never ever be able to say how much that really means to me. So with that all being said, I've been Satin Black, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.